Thank you so much for everyone joining us from all over the world. It means a lot, and hopefully we can provide some value to your life in the next hour or so with what we're about to share with you, because it's definitely something that we care a lot about, and we stepped into this with the best of intentions to help restore some of the damage that's been done to our natural systems. And so we're going to tell you all about that coming up in just a few minutes here. But it's wonderful to see you. Reno, Nevada, awesome. I'm born and raised in Sacramento, so Reno was kind of a stomping ground. Alberta, Malibu. Hey, we just won the Malibu Film Festival. Did you know that? Malibu? Was it Lorraine? Lonnie Gordon? Yeah, we just won the musical, Pandemic musical, just won the Malibu Film Festival. So it was great to be honored there, right there in the belly of the beast at the Directors Guild in Hollywood. It was quite amazing, turning of the tides to be honored in a place that was probably the most fierce in rejecting the Pandemic series. Now they're embracing it in a really big way. So
from Denver, Colorado, you were in Denver last night?
Was in Denver last night, as a matter of fact. Yes, exactly. I didn't get home till about 3 o'clock in the morning, which I'll speak about a little bit more as we get this webinar rolling. But yeah, I was just in Denver just for a layover last night, but was filming yesterday in New Mexico with the incredible Greg Braden yesterday. What a day. Las Vegas. We were just in Las Vegas. As a matter of fact, I'll talk about that a little bit too, because I don't know what it is. Every time I go to Las Vegas, both times that I've been there in the past 4 months, I come back with some kind of bug, and both times I didn't take my fierce immunity, and so it was a real lesson learned of that I need to travel with it everywhere I go, which I did on this last trip that I just returned from last night.
All right, I think we're going to get rolling here.
We are going to get rolling here. So again, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Mikki Willis. I'm the director of the Pandemic movie series, which I'm probably best known for. But most importantly, I am a father and someone who cares about the future of our well-being and our freedoms, really. And so, as most of you know, that all the Pandemic series, because of the urgent situation that we're in, I've opted to not profit from the Pandemic series and to give them away for free. And thanks to the people that send in donations, we're allowed to do that, because then we have no ROI, no return on investment. So we're able to give our films away, which is really one of the only ways that we can bypass the censors these days, is when it becomes decentralized and it's in the hands of the people and it's free and you don't have to go to a Netflix or Amazon to find it, which they could easily just take down, and they certainly would for a film that tells the truth like the Pandemic series. And so, but as a result of that, we started to look for a business model, something that would allow us to stay in business, because we're certainly, it's not a profitable model when you're giving your films away. And so we started to look at what would be a win-win for all of us. What is a problem? I'm always looking at what are some of the core problems out there, and then what is there a possible solution that we could bring to the people. And so we thought, if we're going to do anything in the realm of selling a product, let's create something that's actually a real win-win for the people. And so what problem can we solve? And as I sat down with one amazing doctor and scientist, medicinal formulator, after the next, I realized that we are in a very dire situation when it comes to the declining of our health here in America and far beyond, as I'm sure all of you have seen it by now. It's been difficult because, we were one of the first major warnings to warn the world of what was coming and the dangers of the safe and effective. And now, unfortunately, it's heartbreaking to see how many people have had their lives uprooted and destroyed. We're now producing several movies that have been following people on their healing journey after they have been severely injured for taking the jab. And we're seeing a massive decline and upticking too of allergies and miscarriages, of so many different elements that are keeping people from being in their true power. And so we'll get into that more in a little bit. But first, I want to let you know that sitting next to me here is my partner of 20 years, my business partner, Chris Roy. We've had the
Hi, everybody.
Great time of working together in a lot of different endeavors, and he and his incredible wife Rose have been producing all of our live shows, and they're the ones that anything that you guys see online in terms of website or newsletters or anything like that, these are the incredible folks that bring all that to you. And then also want to acknowledge my beautiful wife who's sitting here off camera. None of this would be possible without our incredible ladies who are really we're just the puppets and they're the masters. Um, and then coming up soon, also, we will have the incredible medicinal formulator, innovator of technologies and medicinal remedies, Anton Fliri. And then, of course, our business partner and one of my best friends, one of the bravest and most incredible, insightful comedians, entertainers on the planet, JP Sears, will be here to share his perspective of what we've done together and also what fierce immunity means to him. I want to start with this. If you saw Plandemic 2, then you saw the little expose that we did with a man named John D. Rockefeller. And it's important for us to understand how we got here to this situation where our planet provides everything that we need, all the food and medicine grows right from the ground. And our bodies are actually designed to be healthy. We have mechanisms set up. To me, our immune system is kind of like the border of a nation. So we're all finally realizing, the dangers of having an open border, what happens to a country when you have that. And when you don't have an immune system, it's kind of like allowing our natural system to be attacked, and we don't have the defenses it needs, that border to keep those things out. And so about 100 years ago, a man named John D. Rockefeller, who was the oil tycoon of the world, actually America's very first billionaire, and he owned all the oil, and it was discovered through science that you could make pharmaceutical drugs through petroleum. So he realized, well, if I own all the oil, I can then own all the medicine. So this one man, with a little bit of help from people like Carnegie, set out to literally destroy natural medicine by demonizing it, by calling all doctors of any kind of herbal medicine or natural medicines, deeming them as quacks, and making sure that the medical industry only knew what is known by some people in the medical field as Rockefeller medicine, and that is the synthetic, dangerous pharmaceutical brand of medicines that have done so much harm. Not only are vast majority of our population addicted to these things, but it's no wonder that medical treatments are the number 2 or 3 killer of the human body right now. The very field that should be saving our lives is actually doing more harm. And so one of the reasons that we decided to put something together, and I had the honor of meeting Dr. Anton Fliri on a Zoom call regarding an entirely different endeavor that we were looking at about 2 years ago. And I was so impressed by him, and he came with such high regard for being one of the most brilliant medicinal formulators on the planet. And that particular endeavor went away, and it was several months later that we were deciding, if we're going to do another business here, let's do something that can actually help restore natural immunity. Because if we aren't feeling our best, and you've probably heard me say this before, but this is one of the many agendas to keep us in a place where we're not feeling powerful. We're either our stress levels are super high because all we're doing is seeing negative news and scary stuff all day long. And when we're in that state, it's been proven through science that our IQs actually get lowered. We go into that fight or flight mode, and we become stressed out. And that is the point that we actually start looking for others to lead us, because we lose our own innate ability to lead ourselves and to lead powerful lives. And so there's a major attack on our systems, from the food we eat to what's being injected. They're now trying to inject mRNA technologies into our food, what's in our soil, what's in our waters, what's in our air, and everything that we consume into our bodies. And so where I set out when I called Anton Fliri and I said, hey, I know that there's a lot of supplements on the market. I'll even say it's oversaturated. So this might be a crazy market to even try to get into. But one thing I know is there's nothing out there that is at the level that I think that is possible. And do you agree with that? And he said, of course I do. And I said, I actually made the mistake of saying we need something that truly restores natural immunity. He said, no, we don't need something that boosts natural immunity. He said, no, we don't need something that boosts it. We need something to actually bring it back into its natural state of balance, to restore it. And he said, I've actually been working on that with some new technologies. And so that began our conversation about 2 years ago. And so we're going to get more into that as we go on here. But that's what we're here to discuss. For me, what's important is there's this sense, and we've been wired for generations, that some superhero is going to come in, swoop in, and save the day. And it just has never happened, and it never will happen. Now, of course, there are good leaders and bad leaders, people that can help actually move good policies forward. But like every iconic movie has taught us, and as a storyteller, I listen very deeply to the plots of these movies and realize that there's a mythology that we've been sharing amongst ourselves from the beginning, the cradle of civilization. And it's so much so that it's become cliche at this point. If you think of all the iconic movies that have some type of a revelation that we are the ones, that the force is within. And so this has been told to us over and over and over. And I think we're finally starting to understand, as we losing trust for all the leadership out in the world, that it is entirely up to us. The quality of our lives depend on the actions that we take, and the actions that we take depend on how well we feel to take those actions. And so it's my firm belief that I was just in New Mexico shooting yesterday, and the altitude got to me as soon as I got off the airplane, and I had a low-grade headache. And I wasn't myself all day long. I was on the quiet side, which is rare for me, and I let my co-director kind of take over because I was just dealing with a tiny low-grade headache. But I was sitting there thinking, just this little headache has really taken me out of my top performance here. I can't do what I normally do on the set. And I kind of just said, hey, why don't you take it over? I'm not feeling my best today. It was simply the altitude. And so that's part of these wicked agendas, is to keep us in this place of feeling disempowered and dependent upon something else, other people. Mm-hmm. And so that's what this is about for us, is to really empower us to come back into a place of our full potential of what we're capable of doing, and then really answer that call, and to realize that we're here. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. As cliche and trite as that might sound, there's a reason it sounds trite and cliches, because it's been said so much, as people have been trying to let us know that that is really the next stage in our evolution here. So with that said, I will turn it over to my partner here and let Chris say a few words.
Thank you. So hello to everybody. So good to be here. I want to just share with you what we have in store for you tonight, for all of you that have joined us, and God bless all of you for being here. I'm going to have you share your story, your fierce immunity story. So
okay.
we're going to start there, because that's an incredible story. And then we're actually going to bring the amazing Dr. Anton Fliri in. He's going to be sharing some of his insights with us around technology and how really wellness and technology are coming together. And then we're going to bring the amazing JP Sears in, and he's going to be sharing some of his experiences of wellness, fitness, and he's going to be giving some of his health hacks to us. We received a lot of questions from everybody, so we're gonna be answering those questions tonight. And again, thank you for sharing all those questions. We're gonna read a quick disclaimer, and so if you guys will bear with us, this goes back to John D. Rockefeller, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Yeah. All right. I'm just going to read this real quick, and then we'll jump in. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. Information on this webinar is provided for informational purposes only. Any products mentioned are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. It is not meant to substitute for medical advice from your physician or other medical professionals. You should not use this information shared in this webinar to diagnose or treat health problems or disease, or as any substitute for medication. If you have or suspect that you have a medical problem, promptly contact your regular healthcare provider. Okay. All right. With that, you want to share your story about your fierce immunity story?
Sure. I'll do this in a nutshell. So I've been dealing with a little bit of a digestive, not even a little bit, a pretty serious digestive issue for a number of years, way too long, as my wife will attest. She's been trying to get me to go under the knife for a number of years. There's a surgery that I have to actually have. And my schedule is so busy. And since 2020, I mean, like right now, I'm producing 5 movies at the same time. It's kind of insane. Since 2020, I've just not been able to catch a moment because of the urgency of everything that's going on in the world. It's really hard to turn down projects that we know that are necessary and they might save lives or help children. And so I've just been juggling all these projects. And and I've not been able to get the procedure that I was told that I needed many years ago. And then oddly, as I started to, it took me about 8 months, as my whole team will validate here, that I cut my teeth as a filmmaker in the world of infomercials, and I became very disillusioned by the hype of products that are all sound amazing, but they're not. And so I reached a point where I realized I can't sell anything anymore unless I really know. There's a karmic thing there. Like if you put something out in the world and it's not what you say it is, I just don't know how people do that. And so it took me about 8 months. I said, like all medicine needs long-term studies. Let's find out. And I also have been studying for years the psychosomatic properties of nocebo and placebo. And so I know everyone around me was talking about how amazing fierce immunity was. And even though it's my product and I'm one of the founders of the company, I wasn't willing to get out and sell it and even talk about it, because I said I need to take it for a number of months and really find out. Because through the years, we've had things that we thought were extraordinary, and then 6 months later, a year later, no one's taken it anymore, and suddenly it's lost its fizz. And so it took me about 8 months to realize that something was changing in my system. And that something, I now understand without doubt, has been the addition of fierce immunity in my life. So my system that often gets way out of balance, and I have to be very careful of what I eat. When I'm not taking fierce immunity, the problem comes back. And when I'm taking it, everything seems to be balanced. And so, that's my testimony of I had to wait long enough and I went off and on many, many times. And as I mentioned a moment ago, even just with the amount of traveling that I do, I was on a, plane until 2 o'clock in the morning last night. And that kind of moving around a lot can be very taxing on the immune system. And so my entire crew now will not do anything without fierce immunity. Everyone's on it, and everyone praises it, and everyone says, that when they work really hard and they run out of a bottle and they forget to restock it and they don't take it, then that's the first time that they actually get taken down by some kind of ailment. And so I've had that twice now, as I mentioned, 2 times heading to Vegas in the past 6 months, where I in that busy city that's just filled with energy and smoke, and which I'm very allergic to smoke. And so it's not uncommon for me to be in an area like that and to come back not feeling well. And that has happened twice now. And so now I don't leave home without it, like American Express. And so that's really my testimony. And other than that, we'll read some testimonies from other people later, but it's been extraordinary with our whole team. We often go through these really pressing deadlines where we'll be up sometimes for 3 days straight, with maybe a nap, half-hour nap every now and then, but we're on a deadline. Something's got to be delivered. It has an air date for, television or a big premiere. And it never fails that someone on our team catches something or whatever you want to say, contracts something because of the conditions of the environment. And that seems to be a domino effect. And it's very detrimental when you have a team of, say, 8 people or so, and 4 of them are not well in the middle of a deadline. It can be very, very stressful. And in the past year and a half since our team has been testing and been on fierce immunity, that has not happened. And that's pretty extraordinary.
It really reminds me, when we first sat down with Dr. Fliri here in this space, and you did a 4-hour interview with him, and he sat and shared with us his discoveries, the technology that they've developed that helps them to run trillions of data points across every major system of the body to really determine what specific ingredients synergize together the best for a specific outcome. And in this case, it was immunity, but it does so much more than that. And I just want to say what an honor it is to have Dr. Fliri with us tonight, because we've been getting a lot of questions about the technology, about AI and how emergent systems, Anton and Shama, have developed these products.
And concerns about AI, which I shared at one point too. So we're going to address that. This development of this product has really opened my eyes to to the upside, the benevolent side of AI technology, is just how brilliant it is. And then it's able to create such a precise formula, which Anton will get into, because he really schooled me on the interview that we did several months ago on how important it is that the combination of elements are exact and precision, because if they're not, they can cancel each other out. So I've spent a lifetime buying supplements and making the mistake of looking at the label and just thinking the more good stuff, vitamin C and vitamin D, and oh, this is the best one, I'll buy this one. Not understanding that sometimes that's the worst thing you can do, because a lot of those ingredients cancel out the most valuable ingredients in the batch. And so, and Anton Fliri will speak into that later, but that is one of the reasons that we can say that this is one of, if not the most potent immune restoring formulas on the planet, because it is the first that has been developed precisionally through AI technology.
That's right. And Dr. Anton will speak to that, but it was actually a trillion data points run across the human, all systems of the human body to determine these 5 ingredients. And so we want to dig into that with Dr. Anton. And then we also want to talk about, I think we all know that there's a side of AI that, someone submitted a question and said, it scares me. I think we all know that there is that side of it, but there's also a responsible side, and a side that's filled with miracles and possibility. And so, with that, I'd love for us to bring, what an honor to have Dr. Anton here with us tonight. Dr. Anton, there you are.
Well, hello everybody. It's a pleasure being with you. I was fascinating listening to your story, Mikki, and thank you for the introduction.
Absolutely. Hey, Dr. Anton, what a pleasure it is to have you here. Thank you for joining us. I'm sure you remember that interview we're referring to. It was, our journey began back in 2022. You and Shama came out and sat with us and shared your background. Some of the places you've been, some of the discoveries you've made, and you have such an incredible background. I thought maybe we could have you just share a little bit about, briefly just where you've come from and really how you arrived here in collaboration with us, and why it is that you're working, in partnership with us.
Well, from my accent, you recognize I'm not an illegal US immigrant. I'm actually from Austria. And I studied chemistry at the University of Innsbruck, did research at Harvard and ETH Zurich. And then I joined Pfizer in cancer research initially, and then neuroscience research. So 27 years research experience in the big pharma created a degree of reality check, because a lot of the stuff we think we know doesn't work. Okay? And it doesn't work because we just don't understand the way how nature is operating and how nature is doing things. And that's actually that difference there is precisely the difference between artificial intelligence and what we have developed. We have developed something which is called swarm intelligence, which is the natural form of intelligence. That's the way how our brain works. That's the way how our body works. And it doesn't hallucinate, because everything what we are doing is based on reality, based on real evidence. Artificial intelligence makes things up. It's called hallucinations. So people are worried about that. Okay. When we apply our technology, we are not making things up. We are really looking at what is known, what is out there, how do those pieces fit together. And based on that insight, true insight, okay, which is based on understanding how the body communicates, how all of those different pieces in our body exchange information, how they work together, what they need, when they need it. So all of that stuff is a very dynamic, active interplay and interaction. And you need to have the right technology to understand the language the body is speaking and the way how we can listen to this language. Okay? Because without having an understanding what those different pieces need at what time, we are just making matters worse, like a lot of drugs are doing. Sometimes I just shake my head. How the heck can you and atoms mess the body up, the intricate dialogue up with a medicine? It's just completely stupid sometimes. Okay, sorry for saying that. So there is a degree of misalignment, the way how the body operates and what we think we want to do with it. So with that background, it's really that type of realization that 95 or 90%, over 90% of the drugs people trying to put into the clinic and into people, they fail. They fail because they don't work, or they fail because they produce side effects which are not tolerable. think about the massive amount of money which gets into completely failing. So with that realization, we started to think about what can we do different. And that's really where we started. Now, when we talk about the immune system, the innate and adaptive immune system is with us at the time when we are conceived, when we develop in the womb, and when we get born. And it's always there, and it's responsible for everything. It's responsible the way how our gut works, how our brain works. It's responsible in the brain development, and also it is responsible for keeping us safe. So the innate immune system and adaptive immune system are one of these core components which we need to keep healthy. And what the beauty of the immune system is, it's a dynamic. What dynamic means that the players in there, they actually have different jobs. They have different jobs at different time points. So you have to really understand this. When they can change actually their functions, like a worker can do a 1.1 thing, and then when a different situation comes, can do something else. So you need to be able to give the immune cells and immune system the chance to change their functions and to change their job. So just feeding them one ingredient doesn't help. Could actually, give it to the wrong time, it could make matters worse. So when we started we actually have a recent publication, Frontiers in Cardiovascular Medicine, where we looked at something which everybody will be taking is vitamin D. Vitamin D is not a simple supplement. It has many, many different functions. It affects your RNA. That's the way in that your genes get translated into proteins. And it ultimately also is more or less the adapter between our environment and our body and our health. So it's a key ingredient and a key supplement which plays many, many different functions. Some of them are good and some of them are bad. Okay? So when you overdo it with vitamin D, you're going to be surprised in the long term. You actually could make matters a hell of a lot worse than you want it to be. So it's vitamin D is not really well understood when you really look at the complications of the pharmacology. So the same thing when we look at fierce immunity. We put nitric oxide, vitamin D, and then we put antioxidants together. If you read our publication in Frontier in Cardiovascular Medicine, you actually understand why. Because what those combinations is doing, they actually in that terms make those things working together. They're really in that terms balancing nitric oxide, balancing vitamin D, and balancing the redox system. So it's a key combination there, where every pair does a specific job. So for example, arginine is required. So in the body, your defense system in the body, you're really the soldier. There's things called macrophages. Macrophages, they can also make vitamin D, an activated form of vitamin D. Without arginine, they don't do it. So you really need arginine there to really help to make the defense system and your soldiers, they're really equipped to fight your enemies. The way the body can fight enemies is vitamin D can make something which is a broad spectrum antibiotic, you can call it. It kills bacteria, it kills viruses, it kills fungi, all kinds of stuff. So vitamin D itself is one key part of our defense system. But without arginine, it's not really going to happen.
And Dr. Fliri, just really quickly, I think that's such an important point, is we hear from people all the time asking if there's enough vitamin D in this formula, if I should be taking more. But that one point of vitamin D, and you had mentioned this at one point, that if it doesn't have something, that activates it, it actually ends up in the fat cells and doesn't do your body any good. And so I wanted to just mention that. And is that what you're referring to with the combination of vitamin D and arginine?
So there's two elements there. Vitamin D, when you eat it, okay, it's not active. In other words, it's something in a way which gets taken out by the body and then it gets stored in the fat. It doesn't do anything there. It just sits there more or less and that then gets drawn out of the fat when essentially the body needs it. Okay? But it itself in that terms doesn't do a lot of things. When you have arginine, the arginine is turns something on which actually accelerates the conversion of the inactive form of vitamin D in the active form. So what it's doing now in two ways. It helps the conversion, and B, it helps the macrophages to make the active form of vitamin D. So there's a double whammy and benefit, okay, when you have arginine in combination with vitamin D. The other thing is, so that's one of the vitamin D has two flavors ultimately. One is a good thing and one is a bad thing. The good thing in a way is it helps you in your immune system. It helps essentially to balance inflammation and helps essentially to kill bacteria and to kill viruses in the way by catalytic production. But when you have too much of that stuff, okay, it actually can cause something like scarring and tissue fibrosis, it's called, or lung fibrosis. So that's bad when you have lung infections, for example. So you don't want to have too much of that stuff around. The way we prevent that, for example, by putting quercetin and asparagine there, because what the quercetin and asparagine doing, they block the quote-unquote bad effect of vitamin D. The same thing with arginine. Now people worry about too much arginine, because too much arginine ultimately could cause inflammation, feed inflammation. There's two flavors of nitric oxide. One is a good thing, and one is a bad one. One is the inducible form, which causes inflammation. It's involved in inflammation, and that's the good thing, which is the endothelial form, which opens up the blood vessels, provides the energy. Okay, so you need this in a way to have the thing balanced. Quercetin and asparagine, they actually shift the balance over to the good form of nitric oxide. So with that arginine vitamin D combination and quercetin and asparagine, you have the ideal where the bad effects are suppressed and the good effects are enhanced. So that is essentially the whole gamut. And core component in terms of the immune support system. One key player is a growth factor called TGF-beta. And TGF-beta plays an interesting role because it's an immune suppressant. And when you have essentially immune suppressant, then people worry about in terms when they have autoimmune diseases like Lyme diseases and other autoimmune diseases. So you really need to downregulate TGF-beta in a product in order to prevent essentially the immune suppressive component, which affects essentially autoimmune diseases. So the combination of quercetin and asparagine plus arginine, they downregulate and they actually reduce this particular type of growth factor, which is bad. So they remove the immune suppressive component, okay, of an immune support formula. So when you look at what each one of those things, achieves a balance, it allows in a way to have the fighters there, which are the macrophages. It allows them to change role. It allows them to fight the box when they are essentially, when a signal comes, there's an enemy there. But it also then starts to heal the body. Okay, when the inflammation, the threat is over, it supports the healing process. The core thing in terms of the product is great for cardiovascular diseases. When you read our paper, actually it stabilizes plaque formation, atherosclerosis plaque. Okay, so it is a really great source for endothelial nitric oxide, the great nitric oxide supplements. And it's also one of the best vitamin D supplements you can have. Okay. On top of it, it's an anti-aging product. Anti-aging because when you have chronic inflammation, okay, so if you don't balance the immune system, the result is your inflammation takes over. You have chronic inflammation. So you need, in a way, once you fight your bacteria or your viruses, you need to stop the fight. So if you don't do it, you ultimately end up with diabetes, you end up with all kinds of neurological problems, chronic essentially inflammatory problems, arthritis. You need to stop it. So PS immunity is designed essentially to downregulate chronic inflammation, and chronic inflammation causes aging of the immune system called inflammation. Okay? And since go ahead. Sorry.
So that's really, and we get a lot of questions about this as well, Dr. Fliri, the anti-aging. I think a lot of people are feeling a lack of energy right now. We're hearing that a lot. I think we're getting assaulted in so many different ways. But are those processes that you're referring to really the anti-aging quality? I know for myself, I've been taking Fierce Immunity for over a year now. I haven't had a sniffle. Everyone in my family takes it, but my energy has been really impacted. And I know that, that we hear that all the time from people in our community and the family here that, that it seems to get you at another level in terms of just feeling better cognitively and just in terms of just feeling more energy. Is this are these some of the side, sort of the additional benefits of the product?
Yes. So when when nitric oxide, when people, nitric oxide makes you feel good. When one of the drugs essentially are called poppers, okay, which essentially are butyl nitrites. Okay, so they make you feeling good. When you have the corresponding something which produces nitric oxide, it actually in that terms increases your mood, increases essentially it's antidepressants and anxiolytics. Okay, so that's one of the effects of nitric oxide. On top of it, nitric oxide opens up your blood vessels. When you open up blood vessel, you get more oxygen into your muscles, into your organ system, so you feel essentially more energy, more energetic. Okay, so that's a direct effect essentially of the product having it's a nitric oxide booster in essence. Okay. In terms of anti-aging, quercetin is called a senolytic. Senolytic means it's anti-aging. Why? Because it gets rid of dead and old cells in your body. Okay, it's the same thing as does hesperidine, and it's also associated with vitamin D. So senolytics, in a way, what they do is they get rid of your old cells, which sit there and just essentially cause inflammation, and clears them. And the clearance is done because you actually support the innate immune system, which are macrophages, which chew them up with the process called phagocytosis. So you get rid of your cellular debris, get rid of old proteins, get rid of all kinds of junk and that, and it accumulates. And that's ultimately, it's a housekeeping process. So the product not only makes you stronger and healthier, keeps your immune system strong and healthy, keeps all the immune cells being able to change their functions when it's needed, but it also cleans you out. Okay, it cleans out the old cells with a process called autophagy, which means it eats itself up, and phagocytosis, and those are all technical terms, but they're all vital in a way to keep you young and keep your system smooth and running. Okay, so it's not just an immune system; it's a health support product. Okay, so it will help you with all kinds of chronic illnesses which are associated with chronic inflammation. So it's a chronic anti-inflammatory substance, which so each one of the ingredients decreases a thing called TNF alpha, it's the tumor necrosis factor alpha, which is a key inflammatory substance involved in all kinds of illnesses, from psoriasis to acne, you name it. Okay, so the ingredients lower the bad cytokine, called cytokines in that those players. Okay.
So, I wanted to chime in if I could here, Anton. Thank you so much for all that. It's very, very valuable. But I want to say something on a personal note of why we all are incredibly grateful to have you as a partner in this. And the moment that I actually knew that you were the perfect partner for this, as we did our 4-hour interview, and we really dug deep into your background and the fact that you'd worked with some of the larger pharma companies like Pfizer, and when you understood the damage that those companies, I'm paraphrasing, but this is what my takeaway was. What you said to us in so many words was, at my age, it's not about the money. Now it's about helping the people. Mm-hmm. And I've come from these companies that have done a lot of damage, and now it's about helping to restore and to do good and to help people. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciated that, just to really feel your heart and your integrity in that. Because what we're facing right now, the more I dig into this as an investigator, as a researcher, I realize with every passing day that there is a literal war against nature. Nature, as we merge into this world, this transhuman agenda, as technology becomes so advanced that they're wanting to put chips in people and they're wanting to get people to merge with technology, as automation is taking over and suddenly all the human slave labor is no longer needed, there seems to be this increasing assault on everything natural. They're stripping away the nature from our foods. They're wanting to create lab-grown meats, and everything is going towards synthetic, artificial knockoffs of nature. And what I've discovered through my deep research is that for these technocrats and the people that are really at the helm of these agendas, that I will go as far as to say they're pretty wicked, have discovered is that you can duplicate just about anything through technology except for nature. Nature is such an incredible, precise, brilliant technology. When you understand that every morning there's something called sonic bloom that happens. The birds chirp They signal the plants to awaken and open up and bloom. That signals the insects to come in and pollinate. There's this incredible chain of events that happen every single morning right outside our window. And as brilliant as nature is, our bodies are nature itself. And when that natural system is disrupted, when we no longer have it working, where the chemicals are released when they're supposed to protect, to keep our equilibrium and our immune systems and all the stuff that is happening in our bodies right now, just to sit here and to have this conversation, our body's going through infinite amounts of technological work within us just to sit upright. It's an extraordinary thing. And the more that that system gets damaged, the more that we are dependent upon these synthetic remedies that ultimately all have a side effect that does more harm than good, it appears. And so that is also why we're, as much as I love to bring our films and storytelling out to the world to help awaken the masses, this is for me, this is doing the same thing, but internally in the body. And so that's one of the reasons that we're really grateful to have you on our team.
We live in an integrated system. An integrated system with everything depends in codependency. Okay, in other words, we are dependent on nature, we are dependent on each other, we are depending on the relationships. Okay, we cannot at that times isolate those things in that. So the industrialization tends to isolate and simplify problems. So interactions, as more interactions you have, it's more complex it gets. So at that stage, ultimately, when you start to machinize things, machinize life, okay, you end up in that with an oversimplification. And then they come up with an algorithm which trying to mimic nature, but it's not nature. An artificial intelligence, it doesn't think. It just pretends like to think. Okay, so that's a big difference. Swarms, in the way, is something completely different. Swarms dealing with nature itself, which means the communication. Communication arranges things. Communication essentially makes ants to work together, make a beautiful castle. Not a single ants could do it, okay? But the communication between them, make a stupid thing smart. And that's really what the difference is between natural intelligence, it's cooperation. A society, in a way, if it's corporate, it's a hell of a lot smarter and brighter and wiser than an individual. And so you have to shift your power structure from those quote-unquote power-hungry chefs, okay, to actually more of a community-based interactive system where everybody watches out for each other, okay, and that's really what swarm intelligence would mandate, okay, cooperation. And the cooperation is really the heart of the immune system, because every single cell has its function at a given time at a certain purpose, and they can't change that. You need to support it. You need to support in the way and how they work together. The degree of fluidity and plasticity, we call it, that you need to maintain that. You need to not put a monkey wrench in there because you think like you understand it. You have to listen to what they are telling and then trying to support it and not change it. Okay, it's really a different way of how we interact with nature, which is, in traditional medicine, that is based on observation of nature, and has taken hundreds of years to come up with plant-based medicine, which, by the way, work. And if you think about how they designed a miracle, they're amazingly well-designed natural medicines, which are plant-based, okay? Just essentially, they are based on observation and science. When supplements, our supplement industry made the same mistake. They just treat the supplements as if they would treat chemicals or medicines. That's a big mistake. When you actually look at the supplement industry, they make the same mistake what the pharma industry is doing. They just put things together, then the stuff makes you sick. Okay.
Yes.
So
yes.
You really have to nature is something where you have to understand what are you telling me? How can I actually support you?
Yes,
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Fliri, and stay with us because we're going to circle back to you here very shortly. But we now want to bring up that rascal, JP Sears. Are you there, JP? Come in. There he is. You got a microphone? Are you on mute?
I am probably muted now.
How are you, bud?
Different mute options. I'm good. Glad to be on with you guys and Dr. Fliri and all these. I've seen in the chat, there's just countless people on with us, probably trillions, but life is good and glad to be here with y'all.
That's great to have you here.
Thank you so much, JP. And Where do we go first with JP here?
Well, let's talk about how our partnership with JP and the blessing of how this whole thing came together.
Now, few people know this, but JP has actually never lifted a weight. It's just he takes 3 fierce immunities a day, and it could show him your abs, please, JP.
That's right. This is just all God-given handsomeness. Far from it. No, yeah, my involvement, Mikki, you and I obviously have known each other for, I think, 4 years or coming up on that, maybe past that. And just knowing your work before knowing you and then getting to know you, I know where your heart's at. I know you are a seeker of truth. And COVID woke me up to do my version of that. And just seeing the assault on human health, is certainly going on long before COVID. I could, before I was a comedian, I was a health coach, did a lot with nutrition, and just saw the degradation of our food supply, whether it's coincidentally on accident or by design. There's just no question that people's health is being assassinated from all angles. Food supply, our stress. I mean, you just turn on the news and you're under a massive cortisol response, which just lowers our immunity. So I've known people aren't going to be healthy by accident. I've known that for a long time. And then just going through COVID, really becoming what I would call an awakened truth seeker. I've just been really passionate about helping people reclaim their power, reclaim their freedom, and knowing health is the foundation of our freedom. Because if you don't have your health, you don't have much freedom. And nobody's going to hand your health to you, and it's not going to happen by accident. And it's something we need to be very intentional with. So with our relationship, Mikki, when you shared with me what was going on with fierce immunity, I was incredibly intrigued because of, as important as our health is, I realize our immune system is the foundation of our health. That really matters. And specifically, our immune system has been seemingly under some very deliberate attacks lately. So with that said, I was very intrigued. I like to think for myself, but when I looked at all the available data, I was just really intrigued. And, here roll forward a year and a half or 2 years since I've been involved, and of course, taking the product for that amount of time, I've just been so pleased, of course, selfishly pleased with my involvement and what it's done for me. But, I'm very passionate about seeing people empowered and reclaiming their health and having valid protection with their health. So it's just been an absolute joy to get involved, be on the team, and help people empower themselves to be healthy, rebuild their immunity, and be as protected as we know how to be.
Beautiful. Thank you, JP.
Yeah, JP, thank you for that. I know you just recently won the top prize for most fit comedian out there. I don't know if everybody knows that, but we promised everyone that you'd share a few of your health hacks and your tips and tricks. I mean, seriously, you seem to have tapped into something, within your own experience or with your routine that is really reflecting in just your own personal wellness and your own fitness. And so, we'd love to, I think everybody would enjoy hearing more about just what your routine looks like and how do you just stay locked into that given everything that's going on in the world?
Sure. Yeah, happy to share my health routine, what's most important to me. But first, I have to give a disclaimer as the two handsome angels, Mikki and Chris, sit there. There's no clinical research that shows that fierce immunity makes your hair fall out. Chris and Mikki are just handsome devils, and we all know that wise people either have long hair or they're relatively bald. So that's just a different issue. But
Appreciate that disclaimer. Yep.
Absolutely. But yeah, as far as my health routine and what's important to me at a philosophical level, before I get practical, philosophical level, embracing discomfort is at the heart of it. I think he or she who's willing to embrace discomfort, we grow in all areas of our life, including health. When it comes to exercise, for example, you're literally making yourself uncomfortable. And when it comes to staying psychologically fit and healthy, it is uncomfortable to be the steward of our own thoughts. Because we all know the old choice that we have nowadays. You can choose comforting lies or uncomfortable truths. So a willingness to embrace discomfort, going out of our way to get clean food, it's a little less comfortable than the convenience of what's just fast and loaded with sugar. So at a philosophical level, that's sort of what underpins it all. And then for me, one way to look at it is what keeps us healthy at a foundational level with our habits. It's all found outside of the industrial complex, right? Like there's no exercise industrial complex. There's no get a good night of sleep industrial complex. There's no drink a bunch of water each day industrial complex, because a lot of the things that I think keep us healthy at a habitual level, nobody really makes money off of it. Therefore, we're not urged and pushed to do these things. But to me, the simple basics are move our bodies, inclusive of resistance training, prioritizing sleep. Nothing, at least for me, makes more of an impact on my sense of well-being than good sleep. It's very important for immunity as well. Drinking good, clean water. I like to intentionally add electrolytes to it. And then eating good, clean, whole foods that make you feel good. And just a quick bullet point under good, clean, whole foods that make you feel good. There's plenty of people that could make a case, well, that should be a vegan diet, or nowadays that should be an all carnivore diet. I don't care. Just whatever makes your unique body feel good. Good, clean, whole foods, ideally organic, ideally as locally grown or self-grown as possible, I think is just the icing on the cake. But when we have exercise, we have sleep, we have good hydration and good whole foods that are providing our macronutrients and hopefully a lot of micronutrients as well, we're doing really good. Then lastly, as far as the basics, I have to mention, we have to de-stress ourselves.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different ways to do that. I think for me, meditation is very helpful. And two, an empowering perspective is helpful. A lot of us could say, hey, the world's falling apart, therefore it's stressful. But we're outsourcing our power and well-being when we say it that way. We're actually putting ourselves into the role of the victim, and you can't be a victim and a master at the same time. So I think the master says, how I perceive what's going on is stressful. And if we do nothing other than look for the blessing in what seems like a curse, it doesn't change the outer experience, at least all the time. It mostly doesn't. But if we are aware to find our blessing and count that blessing, I find that's a perspective shift that can take me from I'm above the line of stress to, okay, now I feel balanced. So whether it's meditation or something else that works for you, as well as really being the steward of our perspective, being very intentional with how we're perceiving, how we're authoring what's going on in our personal lives and the world around us, that, call it stress reduction component, I think is really essential with the little bit of a weird world we're living in.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much for that, JP. I just wanted to remind everyone too, let's never lose sight of the fact that during the COVID lockdowns, that liquor stores were left open, health food stores were closed, parks were closed, gyms were closed, beaches were closed. It is a perfect example, living study to show that they really want the opposite of us being healthy. Otherwise, if they truly cared, and if it were truly measures to keep us healthy, they would have said, be out in the sun. You know, let's close down the liquor stores and let's keep the gyms open, get to the beach and exercise and get your body strong. But no, stay inside, sterilize your entire environment. So you have, you know, your immune system it's almost like, you know, when people go to an ICU unit for a month and they're ready to be released, they don't release them right away. They hold them until they can get their body acclimated back into all of the different assaults that they will encounter the moment they walk outside that sterile environment. And so all of that was designed to literally make people sick, to ramp up the numbers. And so if we can just keep that in the foreground, that is the agenda, and we counter that by staying healthy, by doing all the stuff that JP just said, by taking care of ourselves, taking personal responsibility for everything we do, think, say, all of it. It all matters. My job is research every day, so I have to file through all the negative news. And for me, you know, meditation is a big part of my life. Being with my children and my wife is a big part of my life. There's nothing, I mean, I feel my immune system literally boost when I'm with my kids because they make me laugh all day long. They're hilarious. And just being in that zone of being proud and being in that zone of love and laughing at my kids all day long, for me, that's the counterweight, the counterbalance to all the stuff that we have to absorb every day to make the media that we make. So thank you so much for those very personal details, JP, because that is really what it's about. Whether you do fierce immunity or not, I highly recommend it. But other than that, it's like whatever you do, you know, just do it in the healthiest of ways. Let's empower our bodies. There's a reason that before any human body does anything extraordinary, before they compete in the Olympics, before they compete in battle, there's boot camps, there's trainings. Before any sport, there's intense preseason training. And I feel like that's the stage we're at right now. Like this is it. This is game time. When the human family, team humanity steps up, we're on the field together. And so let us all come into our greatest health together. So when we hit that field, we can count on our other players to actually receive what we're throwing and to play the game and to win the game. And I truly believe in, just on a personal level, because I know there's a lot of scary stuff happening right now. And on a personal note, I will tell you from all of the different information that I'm able to receive, which is some pretty high-level intelligence at this point, it's going to get worse before it gets better. There's going to be some stuff that's going to happen within the next year and very likely before the next election cycle. And is that a release of some kind of new bioweapon? Perhaps. They're already teeing that up. You have to listen to the narratives because they test narratives on us. They start to say, bird flu, here's this, and they go, how are people responding to that? Is it going to work? Are they too awake now? Do we need to shift to a whole other agenda? They're testing all these narratives right now. And all of them are pretty terrifying. And I don't mean that I'm the optimistic guy that everyone knows, but at the very same time, I'm a realist. And so prepare for the worst, but also plan for the best. Because once we get through this dark period, and particularly if we keep our bodies healthy, where we are capable of so much more than we've ever given ourselves credit for. The body is so resilient and so brilliant. Nature is so brilliant and so resilient when we work in harmony with all the forces that are there to support our lives. And so that's why we're on this call together today. And so thank you so much, JP, for everything you just shared. We're going to shift gears now.
Yeah.
To
We're going to take some questions. And JP, I just wanted to say, I was watching the chat, and a lot of people in the chat have said, you know, to thank you for bringing comedy to the darkness. And that's the blessing you were referring to. And that's been the blessing you've been to people, is bringing comedy, bringing humor to something that I think, you know, a lot of people feel is very dark. And a lot of people feel like there's nowhere to turn. And they see one of your videos and it really brightens them and brightens their day. And I'm seeing it here in the chat. And so thank you for that. And what an honor for, just having you here with us and being part of what we're doing.
I'm so glad Chris brought that up, because in the same way that Dr. Fliri can speak into delivery systems of how these formulas and ingredients work together to help optimize the delivery of each individual element. The work that you do, JP, is in a sense a delivery system. Laughter is medicine. And while people need to be informed in the world, your delivery system is comedy and allows people to receive the medicine in a way that otherwise it might not get to the cells. And I don't mean that hyperbole. That's not an exaggeration for me. That's why I'm so honored to call you friend and partner in this work together, to be on the front line with you, because you have saved countless lives, and it is really an honor to be working with you. Thank you.
Thank
Absolutely.
you, Chris and Mikki,
Absolutely.
and to the chat. I really appreciate that.
Oh yeah. God bless. And so just going back, Mikki, I think shared really clearly in terms of why we're here. We're not here just to promote a product. We are here to really bring people together and help everyone to navigate this sort of current environment that we're in. And there is a lighthouse there. And so these gatherings, these opportunities for us to get together and really just share from the heart. And so what an honor. I so appreciate both of you and what you both shared. If we have time, we'd love to take a few questions. We had people submit questions from all over the world.
Okay, yeah, this is an important one, because this one is something that Dr. Fliri hipped me to. So forever I've been taking a fistful of pills, like literally, like probably 14 pills a day. And when I sat down with Anton, I said, are you telling me that I only have to take these 3? That's it, every single day, which, by the way, our children take. We should mention that too. This is safe for children. And we're going to make a gummy formula later for little ones that taste better and that they'll love. But it's completely safe for children. And our kids have all been very healthy since we've been taking this. But the question that I asked you that somebody else is asking here, which is a very important one, is it okay to take Fierce with other supplements?
Well, you shouldn't take it with another vitamin D dose, for example. Okay, so that is something I would advise not to do it. Okay, and you shouldn't take it with other zinc supplements. I advise not to do it. But those are the beyond that. It's the ingredient itself. They are health support system. It's a health support system in a way. When you look at the stories about hesperidine and about quercetin, when you look at about, they have profound effects essentially on the cognition, on the cardiac functions, and the immune functions, and the overall health. Okay, so those are you find them in vegetables. So those are the core really driver in your fruits. Okay, which ultimately keep you healthy. But there's nothing wrong with taking that stuff every day. Do not overdose with vitamin D. When people recommend that crazy high dose of vitamin D, my recommendation is don't do it. Even if the experts tell you to do it, no, don't do it. Okay. And we have looked at that stuff very carefully. We found in a way it's like it goes up, the benefit, and then when you reach a certain point, it clips and goes down. Okay. It actually, too much of that stuff makes you sick. It exposes you to, and I'm shutting up because there are other questions. Go ahead.
Does Fierce Immunity support autoimmunity conditions like Lyme or Hashimoto's?
Yes, and the reason is in a way because Fierce Immunity downregulates TGF-beta, and TGF-beta essentially affects in that your deregulatory cells. Okay, so in other words, TGF-beta in a way is a driver which kills those important T cells which you need in a way to keep the immune system in check. Because immunity decreases TGF-beta, yes, it affects autoimmune disease. And it gets rid of the bugs ultimately, which cause Lyme disease. It also kills the bugs which cause malaria. Okay, so yeah, it's good for that. It's also
Okay, and what about with what is called long COVID?
It's perfect for long COVID. Long COVID, interesting enough, also is a side effect of your RNA vaccines. In other words, when you have those type of muscle pains and stuff like that. We found in that some of the effects caused by vaccines and long COVID, they're overlapping. Okay. fierce immunity ultimately, and long COVID is an imbalanced immune system. Because in other words, it disbalances the immune system. Fierce immunity is perfect, okay, to keep that in check and rebalancing it.
And this one is for Dr. Sears. How can we influence people to question tyrannical health protocols and protect their personal well-being?
Yeah, I think ultimately that comes down to doing our own critical thinking and a three-point structure to make sure we're doing our own critical thinking is when we're wondering, should I take this? Should I do that? Think these three checkpoints: assessment, action, and analysis. Assessment is you hear about it. Does this make sense to me to try? If it doesn't, it's probably a red flag. For example, with Dr. Fliri on here, this is an assessment process for a lot of people. You get to do your own critical thinking. You get to hear from the chief formulator, what is this product about? Pfizer never did this with their vaccine. They didn't offer informed consent. They just offered tyranny. Take this or else you're going to die and you'll lose your job. So assessment, then action. Cool, you take it or you don't. And if you do take something or do something, start a new program, then analysis. After you've been doing it, check back. Ask, is this working for me? So assessment, action, and analysis, those are the virtues of critical thinking, which I think is the principal immune defense against tyrannical authorities telling us what to do with our health.
Wonderful. And then I have a question here for me, which is, what new pandemic do I think will be launched on the population next? Well, I kind of alluded to that earlier. There will definitely be some actions taken against the people. And the good news is the reason that these actions will be taken is because we are making such progress and we are winning in so many ways. We are literally fighting against an agenda that is over 100 years old, and that is to defeat America from within. America has become the firewall because of its constitutional foundation. It's the firewall that stopped the people that we might call the globalists, the ones that want total world domination, world control, one world government, one currency, and the ability to turn off and on pandemics whenever they want to. The saving grace in this last pandemic, I will say this, is the fact that we believe through all of our research, and other research teams that we work with have come to the conclusion that COVID-19 wasn't supposed to happen in 2020. They had to pull it forward because of some things that were taking place in America that they did not expect. And as a result of that, they weren't ready. They weren't fully ready. By ready, I mean they didn't have a lot of the other countries fully captured, hadn't done their regime changes with their leadership that would actually fully participate in this program. And so now we have what is called outliers. We have other nations that are 4% vaccinated and totally healthy, didn't kill their economy. We have states within our own nation that did the same thing. So we're able to now look at those as some of the clearest case studies to say, you failed. Not only did you fail us, but you harmed us in a great way. And so this is now being used in court cases all over, winning major court cases against some of the pharma companies and some of the people that actually set forth these policies that have done far more damage than good, possibly no good at all, but all damage. And so I will say to people to prepare, have some non-perishable food, have alternative power supplies handy, communication. Whatever's going to happen, I think, is going to be short-lived. But as we just saw, there was a major power outage that happened through CrowdStrike. They're testing these things in the same way that they did Event 201 to test what it would be like for a pathogen to be released into the population. They've recently done these tabletop exercises to look at what it would be like if there was a total internet outage or an EMP attack or something like that. And so they're testing these things. But one by one, these people are starting to fall off. People are coming forward, whistleblowers that are realizing they're working for these evil empires, good people that find enough of their humanities left over to actually realize they can't carry through with these plans. They're starting to abandon ship. And so that's a very good thing, but it's also, we must expect when you back a dog into a corner, it's going to bite. And so just be prepared for that. And that is why we're here on this call together, because part of preparing for that, I know you want to say something, Anton, I'll turn it over to you in a second. Part of preparing for that is by keeping our health optimized. We can't take care of our children. You know what it's like being a parent. You know, my wife and I have a 10-year-old and a boy who turns 13 tomorrow. And if we don't feel well, we're not as patient. We're not as caring. We just want to be left alone. We just want quiet in the house, and we can't do our job as parents. And so it affects every part of our lives. And so it's very, very important that we make our health and our bodies, just like they say when you're in an airplane, they say, should there be a loss in cabin pressure, put the mask on yourself before you try to help anyone else, because you're not good to the world if you're not breathing on your own. And so that is why we're here. And Anton, go for it.
Have fierce immunity in your cabinets. You know, we looked at 42 pathogens that the World Health Organization claims they're the next pandemic. And we looked at them. Okay,
Yeah.
We actually had patent on this stuff just for the sakes of it. But we know a little bit about them, that terms, how they actually invade and what they are doing in a way. So fierce immunity, you know, because it supports your innate immune response. That's nature designed that to fend off anything from viruses to fungi to bacteria. And I mean, it's essentially, that's the power of fierce immunity, because it plays into that defense mechanism nature designed, not the pharma companies. Nature designed that. And that's exactly what fierce immunity is doing. It gets that defense mechanism to your disposal. So if you take that early on, okay, you are really equipped to fend it off, because nature produces that stuff to get rid of those things. I mean, that's what vitamin D is doing. It gets the defense in your body, you know, when you need it. So have it ready.
Well, Dr. Anton, thank you for sharing that. And I just wanted to say that, you know, we have been hearing from people all over the world who have been taking fierce immunity, and we've been getting just really remarkable feedback. And I wanted to just maybe we just put this slide up real quick, just to share a couple of the remarks that we've received from people. We've received hundreds from people, and I
received hundreds today.
We really have. Yeah. So I just wanted to share these two. Maybe Mikki, you want to?
I'll start with this one. This one's from Alan C. I am a doctor of Chinese medicine and acupuncture. I have been using herbal medicine and functional medicine supplements for my patients for 20 years. After hearing Dr. Anton Fliri's interview, which was was our last webinar, I was very impressed with the depth of knowledge and commitment to bringing health to others. I've been taking fierce immunity every day for the last 8 months, and I can say that I definitely feel a positive difference in my own body's immunity. I highly recommend this for my family and my patients. Thank you, fierce immunity. Go for it.
Yeah, and this is the kind of miracles that I'm sharing. And we you know, the most popular question we received is how do people transmute the damages done by the mRNA vaccinations, and a lot of what we've been talking here tonight. So Cindy shared with us, I'm experiencing what I would call a miracle. I've been battling long COVID symptoms for over a year, and despite my best efforts, it seemed to actually be getting worse. Within 3 days of taking fierce immunity, I felt my airways start to open. By 5 days, I didn't need to use my inhaler every 6 hours. And now 2 weeks later, I'm off all medication and feel incredible. Bless you and thank you beyond words. We went a little over, guys. So everyone who's still there with us, thanks so much for hanging out with us and hanging in there. And I hope you found this valuable. Dr. Fliri and JP, just so appreciate you both. And thank you for creating the space and the time to be with us and to share your incredible insights and just your wisdom with everyone. We're so grateful.
And if you have any questions, people that are viewing this right now, if you have any questions that we did not address, feel free to send them to us directly. Where should they do that to?
Well, we have really quick before anyone drops off, we have a special offer that we'd like to extend out to you. We talked about this as a team. We want to get this product to as many people as we can. There's so many people that need it. And so for a limited time, we're actually going to be offering a free bottle of Fierce Immunity with every order, any quantity. Just go to getfiercenow.com, order your Fierce Immunity tonight. I think we'll extend it probably another 24 hours, but for a limited time, we will have this offer for everyone that attended tonight. We wanted to do something awesome for you guys. And so appreciate everyone that was here and part of this. But yeah, just go to getfiercenow.com, get your Fierce Immunity, and our fulfillment team's going to add an extra bottle in there for you.
And on there and under contact, if you have additional questions, reach out to us there. Just address who that question might be for. If it's for Dr. Fleury, we'll send it to him and we'll get that answered for you. If it's for JP, we'll do the same. Thank you so much for tuning in.
This
And what do we have?
in AD, I don't see her name, but she said, "You guys rock. You guys rock. We love you. We love you and respect you all tremendously."
Thank you, AD.
Right back to you. You guys rock too, and we so appreciate all of you.
Hey, we're all in this together and we're making great progress, people. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we look forward to staying in contact with you. And above all, stay healthy, stay fierce.
God bless.
God bless everybody of you. Stay healthy and take fierce immunity. Okay.
Anton, JP.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. God bless you both.
Bye-bye.
Love y'all. Good night.
Thank you.
Hey, JP, pleasure seeing you, pleasure hearing you. We need more humor in the whole game here.
Thank you, Dr. Fleury.
You are a physician, okay? You heal our soul. You know, that's good. You're a true healer.
Truly.
True.